Hey there, guys. This is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke. This show's been over for a while, but I've only really had the chance to talk about it now. And I feel like it's a good time since it's been announced that Samurai Warriors 4-2 is going to be coming out in English, which I'm excited about. For a reason I'll explain as we get into this, but I'm basically going to be reviewing the Samurai Warriors, the Sengoku Musou TV anime that aired a while ago for like 12 episodes. Um I will say this, like, going forward with it, comparing this from the Legend of the Sonata OVA, I feel like the art in this show was done a lot better. It just looked a lot better. It didn't look like a typical shoujo artist kind of thing. It looked a lot better. And I know the Samurai Warriors, and really the Warrior series in general, like Dynasty Warriors, at least the original ones, the artwork is not necessarily made for anime. So it even here it still looked a lot better, I think, at least. Not to mention the designs. They I mean, it's the same general designs as before. I mean, it's based off of Samurai Warriors 4, so I mean, basically it looked good. The music was nice and oriental and whatnot, and the theme song, I like the theme song, the Wagaki band song, Ikusa, I think it's called. It's actually, I think they were a really good fit. Like, when I first discovered them, I was just like, they would be perfect for Samurai Warriors because they have sort of like that traditional Japanese music thing while going for like the rock band thing. Like, even the vocalist kind of has that. She does like that style of Japanese singing. I don't remember what it's called, where it kind of, you have like the reverb thing. I don't know how to explain. I know there's a term for it because I saw an article about it a while ago, and by a while ago I mean a couple of nights ago. But at any rate, the story is more or less the later part of the Sengoku period, more or less the end of the story of Samurai Warriors. You know, it's after Nobunaga is dead, and it's after the Oda stuff and Mitsuhide and whatnot. And it starts off kind of. It's after Hideyoshi Hashida or Hashiba, I think. Is it Hashida or Hashiba? I don't remember. Basically, Hideyoshi Toyotomi, which is what he's going to end up being called, unifies Japan. But he gets sick and dies, and the whole thing with the Ieyasu Tokugawa and Mitsunari Ishida, that whole thing starts like, I want to rule Japan. I want to rule Japan. So they go to war with each other. And the focus is still on the Sanada brothers, Yukimura Sanada and Nobuyuki Sanada. Nobuyuki goes to Ieyasu Tokugawa, and Yukimura goes to Mitsunari Ishida. And so they end up having to fight each other more, or they're going to have to if they confront. And they don't really want to. And at some point, they're just like, okay, we have to do this as men. We're no longer brothers. We have to fight each other. It's done more. It's like more in like an honorable kind of way. It is a bit of a follow up from the Legend of the Sonata OVA, which is actually on Crunchyroll now. Which they got it, and that's where I watched it. And the subs were good, and, you know. But and then, you know, it's after that they start doing a Yukimura's Exile, which I thought was interesting, a character development. He would like just sit there and meditate, and then he tried to help this sick person or the sick little girl, and he had to like escape, even though like he wasn't allowed to leave, and then he gets confined to the friggin' house, and he's just like, you have to stay here. Eventually, the village kind of burns down. And he kind of goes back to fighting in the war. Like, at this point, he was supposed to be kind of like living out his days as just a regular guy, and had he not like come back, he probably would have just like died off in history. But he takes part in the war again with the siege of Osaka. the winter. I think they show both the winter. I know they show the summer because the summer is that's the siege where everything kind of ends. That's the siege where the story actually ends, and I'm pretty sure they show the winter siege of Osaka. But yeah, Yukimura, he comes back. They have a big strategy, and more or less, Tokugawa ends up winning. They do the typical thing with Yukimura like running off, and they'd be like, "No," which is kind of funny given how Yukimura actually died historically. From what I read on Wikipedia, so you'll have to forgive me if it's not necessary. But from what I heard and from what I understand, like he gets beheaded because he's like weak and tired after fighting, and he's like, "Here, you've beaten me. Just take my head." Whereas here, he like runs off towards like the enemies and he gets gunned down. And that's more or less the end. The end of the Sengoku period with Tokugawa ruling it and whatnot. And that's more or less the story of the anime. One thing that this anime had is the new characters they show, and you can see one of them under Nobuyuki and under Ina, that guy making that weird face. He's Ieyasu Tokugawa's son. I don't remember his name, but he's actually an interesting character because, he's like this fat, loud guy, and he's kind of a brat. But then near the end, they reveal that he's actually a pacifist, and he tells Nobuyuki this, and Nobuyuki's just like, "Yeah, that's fine." And of course, then the son is all tsundere about it. And he's like, me. Yeah, I don't have to listen to you. I'm gonna go leave. And they show him walking off, and the scene they show is like they show his mouth, and he's kind of like gritting his teeth. Then he closes his mouth, and then he smiles afterwards. And I kind of like that. I thought that was a pretty good scene. I thought it was a good way for them to kind of like show this character a little bit more. It's like, oh, you thought he was a big brat and just a dumb person? No, he actually has some interesting ideals. You could argue that it's a bit of a carryover from Ieyasu, I guess, because his whole thing, like, in order to end the, of course, Ieyasu was more like I feel like he would more kind of wanted to end the chaos with he was willing to use violence, and I don't mean in like a dictator kind of way, but like his whole thing, like, in order to end this war, we have to end the way of the samurai, and that means killing a select number of people, including Yukimura Sanada, and all that. So that was his plan, at least, and and of course Yukimura, during his big fight with Nobuyuki, he's like, I now understand why, like, how this war ends. And it's like, I must die. No, Yukimura, don't do it. But I must. Huh. The other new character they show is Hideyoshi's son, who I think may be a homosexual, possibly, because when he is introduced to Yukimura, he's like, oh, I had no idea the famous Yukimura was so handsome. And then Yukimura blushes, and he's like, gay sex. No. Well, yes, but of course, if you've seen my review of Samurai Warriors 4, I think I remember mentioning it. The game's pretty homoerotic anyway, at least for the guys. It's one of those things where, like, if you're playing as a guy, it's gay, but if you're playing as a girl, it's straight. Sort of like, I guess, the Solaire thing. But, at any rate, he was alright, I guess. He did kind of give up. Like, he's like, oh, there's no way we can win. Oh, I'm just going to set my fortress on fire. And that's more or less what happens, and part of the reason why they lose. I don't know if that's historically accurate or not. I feel like some of these things might have been just retellings of, like, the specific levels in the games. I know in Samurai Warriors 3, they do a thing where Yukimura is just running off into like a field of soldiers, and they don't specify that he gets shot. Like in this anime, it's pretty clear that Yukimura is dead. He's been killed by these gunmen. But Speaking of Yukimura, honestly, I think Takeshi Kusao did a really good job of voicing him. I think this is probably one of his best roles, if you ask me, besides maybe, I guess, Trunks. But I think this is probably his best role, his best voice. I think Yukimura is his best role. He puts so much passion into it, and he does a really good job. And, his image song from Samurai Warriors 3Z, Seimei no Taka, is a really good song. And I think it's probably his best song that he's ever sang. Of course, I haven't heard too many Takeshi Kusao songs. And the general voice cast is pretty good. They do show Toshie Maeda a little bit, voiced by Katsuyuki Konishi, and then of course once he dies, he gets replaced with the quote unquote third new character. Though I say quote unquote because he was gonna be in the game anyway, and he's the new character introduced for Samurai Warriors 4-2, and I'm pretty sure that game came out a little bit before the anime came out. Though I think 4-2, it's pretty clear that it's a tie-in for the anime, I think, especially when you think about the promotion of the Japanese side of things. He was pretty cool. I mainly want to play as him though, so I might do like a my thoughts on 4-2 when that comes out, or just I don't know. But he was pretty cool, I guess. It was interesting to see some of these characters without their helmets, and because of that, I actually think that Ieyasu's son looks a little too stereotypical. I actually think he looks better without the helmet. I mean, I know that like if he ever appears in a game, they're probably gonna have him wear a helmet, but it was pretty good, and I felt like it was a nice watch. I saw some people saying that like it's better to watch it in like chunks rather than a weekly episode thing. I saw one review where it was compared to Sengoku Basara and called boring, yet also just as ludicrous and raunchy. And I'm just like, no. And that brings me to my next point, that this is not Sengoku Basara. It's not. I feel like Sengoku Basara has sort of like that Capcom wildness to it. This is a little more tame, and I feel like a little more serious, and personally I just think it's better. I'm more interested in Samurai Warriors than I am Sengoku Basara. Plus Sengoku Basara is a derivative of Samurai Warriors and the Warrior series, so you're welcome. But I don't know why I'm saying you're welcome. I'm not Koei or Capcom. You know what I mean. But I really like the show personally. And I know Funimation got it, so there's a chance this could get a dub, and I know Johnny Young Bosch has been doing a lot of Funimation stuff. Who I think he's actually a really good Yukimura on both sides. So it'd be cool to have him reprise his role as the real Yukimura. No, they look basically the same. The only difference is one uses 2 spears and the other uses 1. But it'd be cool to get him back. And of course, some of these Samurai Warriors 4 only characters like Nobuyuki, they didn't have voices beforehand. But I don't know. If it comes out on DVD, I'll definitely pick it up. In terms of issues with it, I guess my only real issue with it is that I was expecting something a little more focused on more than just like the later half of Samurai Warriors. Like, it would have been nice to see Nobunaga and Mitsuhide and some of the old other characters who show up in the story. Like, I feel like it's sort of like, oh, if you want the rest of the story, play the game, which, to be fair, a lot of tie-in things do that. But, it still would have been nice to get a little bit more. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else. It'll be interesting to see what they do for Samurai Warriors 5. I imagine some of these characters may show up again. I wouldn't even be surprised if they just reuse the design, since they appeared in the anime, or unless they decide to make a Samurai Warriors 4-3 or something, or some other game to introduce these characters, and then for Samurai Warriors 5 they'll have an updated look. But yeah, it was a good watch, and it makes me wonder if they'll ever do a Dynasty Warriors anime. I think that would be cool because, you know, we had Koihime Muso, which was kind of like a parody of it, I guess. Like a sexy hentai parody. But it'd be cool to get like a and it's funny too because the Koihime Muso people are making a Samurai Warriors version of it. But anyway, it'd be cool if they did a Dynasty Warriors anime, or maybe a second season to Samurai Warriors. We don't really know yet. I mean, this was only 12 episodes, and it could go on longer. And I wouldn't mind it if it went on longer either. But yeah, I like it. And if you're a fan of the show, I would definitely recommend it. And if you're expecting the exact same thing as Sengoku Basara, you're going to be disappointed because this is not Sengoku Basara. In my opinion, this is better. Both the anime and the game version. Granted, I haven't played much of the game, but, well, I don't want to. That's a. If you disagree with me, you can tell me in the comments as long as you're respectable about it. But, yeah. That's Samurai Warriors, the animation. They should have called it that. They just called it Samurai Warriors. I saw an alternate title where they called it Sengoku Warriors, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or Samurai Musou. I don't know. But, yeah. That's all I have to say on Samurai Warriors, the anime. And, yeah, I'd recommend it. And don't worry about if you got, like, the regular edition of Samurai Warriors 4, rather on PS4 or PS3, because the Legend of the Sonata OVA is on Crunchyroll. And you can probably find it elsewhere anyway. So, like, I feel kind of silly for getting the anime edition, just so I could get the Blu-ray DVD thing. But, yeah. That's Samurai Warriors, the anime, and thanks for watching, and I will see you guys for the next video. Bye-bye.